Danger Dolan. So Garrison follower missions, is it fun or engaging, or is it taking content away from the player?
Ooh, I reckon this is slightly going to be controversial. I think we might butt heads here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I got a feeling very much like beautiful sex, we're going to just come together at the end.
Great way to start the video.
Thank you. I was searching for an analogy that would set the tone,
Right.
and I thought a really awkward one because of the way that the beginning bit is probably going to go. I've been a big fan of Garrisons, and I've sort of it's got my back up a few times where people just go, well, I don't want to get into Garrisons, I ain't got fucking anything to do, and it's one of those kind of like things where Blizzard have created this vast fortress of content, and then people just go, don't want to fucking do it. And it's sort of, well, yeah, you're not even giving it a try. You're not even testing things out. And let's face it, the Garrison follower business is a mini game in the World of Warcraft. That's what it is. It's sort of like, it's gameception, it's wowception, it's a game within a game of Warcraft here.
They actually do that a lot with other content. I like to think of all content that isn't raiding or isn't leveling is basically kind of a side game and optional things to do, and definitely this latest expansion has highlighted how optional some things can be.
I kind of think this is a little bit more compulsory than optional, though.
Right.
Because let's face it, okay, if you're a casual player, then this is optional content for you. I just had somebody on my Facebook page last night say, why do you get, because I post the pictures of these Garrison follow missions I get, which I'll get to a little later, and I get these messages saying, oh, how do you get all these great missions to go out and get Highmaul epic gear and stuff? And I was just like, well, you've got to raise the item level of your followers to such and such, and once you get a respective number, then it'll start to unlock. And they're like, oh, so it's only for raiders? And you're like, no, it's not for raiders. It's people that want to invest time in playing with their followers.
Yeah.
So a casual player would find it very optional.
It is a legitimate style of gameplay, even though people would say, oh, it's just, Facebook waiting game. People actually do enjoy doing that. They enjoy logging on every so often, checking all their things, optimizing the way they get their missions done. It's actually fun for a lot of people, and people just have to understand that. We should probably break down exactly what there is to do at the Garrison outside of missions as well, in terms of them being mandatory and which ones are optional. So apart from the missions, you've also got work orders, which once again is kind of a waiting game, which kind of rewards you the longer you kind of wait, so that when you do come back after you've had a while away from the game, you come back and you get a big bonus, just like the Garrison resource box.
But if you have been away from the game for a long time, your work orders would have come to an end.
It punishes you for waiting too long. That's the thing Blizzard were going for there.
Exactly. It's saying, look, you can go away for 2 or 3 days, 3 or 4 days, however many work orders you can compile. But if you're away for a week, 2 weeks, ain't gonna have that. So your work orders would have stopped. Whereas, of course, if you're constantly playing, you can keep those work orders topped up for your professionals. Of course, this is a professional thing. You've then got your once a day daily, which takes you to a random location in Draenor, where probably most of us now would use the group finder just to get with a big group of people and banging out in 10 minutes.
I've actually got a bone to pick with the apexis dailies, because I think now that people have got gear, the apexis crystals are kind of worthless. If you are raiding in a decent guild at this point, you probably don't really need it, apart from maybe 1 or 2 little pieces, and even then you have to grind a lot of apexis for it to be really worth it. Yeah, so gold was going to be the main resource for raiders, but yeah, now it has the same problem as justice and valor points, where you just don't really have anything to spend it on, and they haven't really got out of that slump, and that sucks. And the fact that you're getting apexis from just doing world content, even though it's getting you out into the world. I would much rather have something related to dungeons in that respect. I liked doing dungeons because it was like preparing you for raids, and now it's like you're just going out in the world and killing a bunch of mobs and looting a bunch of things on the ground.
Well, you're quite lucky. I mean, this is something we're going to be talking about in another video, so I'll just very briefly mention this. But you're sort of lucky in a way because you could actually buy some gear with your apexis crystals. I'm a destruction warlock. I couldn't, because not a single solitary piece of the apexis gear had crit on it.
Yeah.
So it was all absolutely useless for me, as crit is such a primary stat. But that is something that we'll get to probably when we talk about possibly professions and other stuff. But yeah, with the apexis crystal stuff, the gear was just absolutely irrelevant. So from day one, apexis crystals, an irrelevant currency unless I wanted to buy mounts from the quartermasters that I'd got reputation with, or I wanted to purchase the respective follower.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, if you got those two rewards. Yeah, once you got those, it's pretty much like those kind of things you can get really quick. Like after you do a few dailies, and that's not a big deal. Like, it should be like Garrison resources where you can sink your apexis into something like that. Other things you can do at your Garrison that are also daily quests: the fishing daily, the pet battle daily.
Yep.
You've also got the inn dailies if you've got the inn. Once again, you got the follower missions. You got your profession dailies. We have to go around and herb and mine. But you can usually get those done within, all of this stuff you can get done within 1 or 2 hours. And also every so often you have invasions. You've got story quests. So there is a bit of content there. So when people say that follower missions are kind of taking away content from the player, I disagree, because I think that the Garrison have added a lot of gameplay, and therefore it feels right. It feels like this is something they could just add onto, like Blizzard could just add more missions, and it's not gonna take away content from other things. It's really simple for them to do. They could put a small team onto it, like a few people.
No, this is what I agree with. Like I said at the start when I was talking about the people that just like, I don't want to deal with my Garrison. Then you can't say there's no content, because there is plenty of content there for you to get on with. Your choice not to get into that content is very much like when I chose not to raid in Mists of Pandaria, or chose not to raid for the majority of Cataclysm. That was a choice I made, and I realised I was taking content away from myself. So I wasn't saying there's no content, or if I did say there's no content, I would always be aware to say outside of raiding. Because I had to be very clear that there was content which I was choosing to bypass. One thing with the Garrison followers missions, though, is obviously the more in depth you get with it, the more you can get out of it. And there does get a certain degree where the Garrison follower missions can take away a fair bit from potential raids, or making it compulsory for raiders to actually get their Garrison followers up to X level,
right?
So they can unlock the mythic Highmaul mission, or at least the heroic Highmaul mission, and start having the opportunity to grab themselves a 670 piece of gear, or a 695, whatever mythic is. I think it's 695.
Sure,
piece of gear. And that could come back Warforged as well, with sockets. You never know.
Yeah, no, there's definitely an argument that could be said for it being mandatory. That's definitely a thing. And also people can get burnt out. Like right now, the only things I log on for today is to do the missions, is to pick up the resource box, is to do a couple of the work orders, and that's it. That's where I call it. Because I'm pretty sick of doing the profession dailies. I'm not doing those apexis dailies or the fishing dailies anymore. It feels like a job after you do it for a certain amount of time, but I think that's the same. If you overplay WoW, no matter what you're doing, it will always feel like a job. It's a grindy game. And that's fair enough. I think it kind of sucks that it's only been, I think it's less than a month, and it already feels like a job. That's not good, but it's not exclusive to Garrisons. That's just how MMOs are, to be honest.
Yeah, it's the same with me. I'm just logging on at the minute, setting my followers off doing missions, emptying my work order boxes, vitalizing them. I don't fucking know what you want to call it. Restocking them with work orders, and then pretty much leaving. But that's because my guild have decided to take a raid break over the Christmas New Year period. So we don't start raiding again till this Sunday, I believe it is. I think we go back raiding this Sunday, which has given us a good couple 2.5 weeks off or so. So when you've taken away that raiding from the equation, and I have gone out and I have actually pugged normal raiding for the last couple of weeks, and also done a little bit for Arak for the last couple of weeks. But once you do take away the raiding element from it, it is possibly a little bit concerning at how little there really is to do outside of the garrison.
That's been like that. That's been like that for every expansion. For me, WoW is raiding. It used to be leveling and dungeoning. Yeah. Now it is raiding.
Dungeons are irrelevant. Dungeons got irrelevant after about 2 weeks, and that's very sad.
But even back
in dungeons, really good dungeons.
Even back in like vanilla and BC, leveling was my end game because I didn't really know how to level efficiently. Like I was really young. I just cared about being immersed in the world, and that for me was enough. And for a lot of players, that is enough for them. They just like being in their social guild and not raiding at all, and just doing LFR so often is just fine for them. Outside of garrisons, I mean, you think about it, the content, most of it is optional or PvP. Like you got Ashran, right? You can farm the rares for the mount. You get the rep up if you farm mobs. You can collect treasure. No, wait. You did this while you were leveling.
You can sit on your mount for 3 days waiting for Pound Fist to spawn in a different location to where you've been sat for the last 3 fucking days.
Why would you do this to yourself?
Yeah, there's that awesome, kind of vibe to it. But they did say that they wanted the garrison to be the hub, which sets you off on your missions, as opposed to, but like there are a few little things, like you said, the mounts. I've got a few of them. I've got the Cleft Tooth, I've got the Elk, I've got the Talbuck. And also the Frostboar. So I've got a few of them. Still waiting on a couple more. So that's been going all right. But although we say this, I haven't actually found myself saying, "Oh God, I'm really bored of this." I haven't found my way there because I've been really enjoying the raid progression and have been enjoying the mission mini game. My problem is I've been enjoying the mission mini game so much. I now have 26 followers, all epic level in 655 item level.
Yeah, dude.
So if I want this game to continue, I'm going to have to start swapping them out. I always seem to have 1 or 2 little ones on the go because I want to do things like the epic mount or the scavenging perks, those perks which just make life really cool. So if I could, proc a couple of good ones like that, and then they could come and replace some of the other followers, then it just makes my life easier. But other than that, I'm waiting for the coin, whatever it's called, and the seal of whatever it is, the coin mission to proc, so I get an extra coin. I haven't had that on my main character yet. I wait once a week for the Highmaul the Highmaul mission to proc. I'm currently up to heroic level. I need to kill a few more heroic bosses for it to unlock the mythic level for me. So that's sort of become my end game outside of raiding. But there is plenty.
I actually just thought about something just then. I've realized that the game kind of punishes you if you are efficient. Like you've got a full set of 655 epic followers, and I'm getting pretty close to that myself. I honestly thought that it was going to be the case where you could just keep doing it for months and months and months and never really peak out at the most efficient kind of path. So you always have something to improve on. Whereas I feel like now, like the reason I've dropped, mining and herbing, the reason I've dropped fishing is because like I feel like I've completed them, and I don't really like that much. I would rather always have something like I want to be able to play that kind of play style, that to do that thing, and always be rewarded for it, to always progress on it. And I feel like there's a cap on that for some reason.
But I think the follower cap was a stupid idea. I think Blizzard's idea in their head was, well, if you put a cap on followers, then it's going to cap the missions that are going to come through. I think that was their thinking behind that. But it's irrelevant. The amount of followers that you have is absolutely irrelevant because Blizzard can always control the flow of missions which come through on the table. So why can't we have all the followers that we find? Because people who are a little bit more hardcore than me at the minute, I'm going to get shitloads of followers. I'm going to get 40, 50 followers. I'm going to use the inn, make it 60, 70, whatever. I'm going to get a truckload of followers. But the more casual player, and this is not absolutely in no way a slur whatsoever, it's just a style of play. But a more casual player might just have 15 followers. You know, they've managed to get 15 followers. They're not rushing to get any more. They're not massively bothered about getting any more. And Blizzard can always control the flow of missions which goes around that. So to put this 20 cap on it, or 25 if you've got the barracks, I just think kind of takes it away from, like you said, the efficient player, or the player that does do things a little bit more hardcore. Whereas if I had all the followers that I had available to me, then my end game is still going to be progressing because I'm still going to be bringing some to epic levels. I'm still going to be gearing up some. You know, there's going to be still more for me to do. But now I'm feeling as if I'm getting financially punished because I have to swap them out, pay 250 gold, bring another one in, and work it like that. And it just feels a little bit, you know, if it's an attempt at being a gold sink, it's almost a placebo. It just doesn't work. There's no substance to it at all. It just doesn't work whatsoever. Just let me have my followers and let me have my fun.
They should treat it like leveling, where the more you level, the harder it gets and the longer it takes. Whereas it feels like when you're doing these, when you're leveling up the mission eye levels and stuff, it feels like the more efficient you are, the faster you start to level, and so you've reached the cap like within seconds, and that's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the more efficient you are, the harder it gets, and the more challenging and the more thought you have to put into it. Whereas casual players, if they just log in every so often, they get massive boosts, to get them to the places they need to go. So,
well, I've already been punished with the Highmaul mission. I say punished. I'm using the word punished as a dramatic effect as the monsoon continues behind me. But I did the Highmaul mission this week. Came back, I completed it. I think I had 96% chance completed. Yay, go me. Opened up the box. In it was a 670 heroic belt, which I was already wearing.
Yep.
And I only have 2 heroic pieces of Highmaul gear. The back and the belt. That's it. All the rest of it is either Highmaul, normal, 640 stuff. That's that. Maybe stuff for an invasion or two. But to get that, once a week mission, that was it. To come back and have an identical piece of gear to one I was wearing feels like punishment to me. It feels a little bit like punishment when there's how many slots available to be filled. So although you do have the, my efficient sea levels have got me to a degree where I have unlocked this mission, I could still get penalised for it and have to wait another week for goodness knows what to drop.
They had the same problem with challenge modes where you would do the entire challenge mode, it would take you ages, and you'd get the box with the nice 640 gear, and you open it, and it was like for the wrong stat with the wrong, for the wrong slot with the wrong stats. I think they could easily fix that by giving you, maybe before you open the box, to select your preferred slot. Maybe like from a list of like, I would prefer to have this slot or this slot or this slot. Now there's still a chance you might get the wrong slot, but it's a higher chance of you getting the right slot. So there's still a bit of RNG there, but it means that you have a lower chance of getting, maybe I'm decked out in full like 640 and I have one piece that I really need to replace, and I've opened like 10 boxes and they're all the wrong. Like that's not rewarding. And same thing with Garrison missions. You get the 670 box, and it could be literally anything. They do need to fix that. But getting.
I've killed Imperator 4 times now, and I've used 3 bonus coins on Imperator. And every time I've used a bonus coin, it's procced me loot, which sounds amazing. But every time it drops 3 items that I can use: my best in slot weapon, chest piece, which is really good chest piece because it's crit multi-strike for me, it's a Destro lock, and a trinket. And every bonus coin that I've rolled, I have rolled the chest piece 3 weeks in a row. I'm already wearing the goddamn chest piece. So I've had the chest piece 4 times, and then 3 weeks in a row, chest piece again, chest piece again, chest piece again. You know, this is the problem that you could have with these missions, you know, because you get a random RNG piece of loot. It could be the Highmaul stuff, it could be the blue stuff as you're leveling up, and all this kind of stuff. And who knows what stats you're going to get. Could start pissing people off.
Well, if I were a game designer, I think I would leave the dungeon gear drops as they are. I mean, it always sucks if you get, you know, the same piece like 3 times, but I think that system works in that context because you're in a place where you're downing bosses and constantly getting loot. So you always get some kind of reward. But when you have done a garrison mission, right, you get a box, or you do a challenge mode, you get a box that is your only reward for all your effort, okay? And it's not a collaborative effort, it's just you doing your thing, right? You get the box and it's just the wrong thing. You don't get any kind of supplementary reward. That is your reward, and it's probably crap. That's not a good feeling. But when you're in a raid, I think it's fine. You know, it happens to everybody. But you get to see other people get gear, and that's a good feeling in itself. So I would leave that as it is.
Yeah, but I do the Highmaul mission this week when it procs this week, comes back, gives me a fucking belt again. You know? Then that kind of stuff starts to feel very unrewarding because you as a player have invested all this time and effort into getting your followers to a degree, and they're just bringing back the same shit which you got on anyway. So that kind of what I don't, you know, maybe they should bring something in, like when you open the box it should say it's either containing a wrist piece or a bag or boots. Which one do you want to go for?
Yeah.
And then you click, braces, let's go for braces. We need braces. So you click onto braces. So maybe it should have some sort of option scheme in there to hopefully, you know, at least prevent that from happening. Or, you know, even if you got braces back or belt, whatever, you know, you might be able to start constructing you know, an offset piece if you want to go different spec for something or other. So you make some sort of element like that.
Absolutely. I mean, that would be perfect. I mean, you're already dealing with the randomized stat game. You don't want to have to deal with the wrong slot as well. It just removes one difficulty when it comes to getting a new piece of gear. It should be exciting, as they have said a million times at last BlizzCon.
Yes.
And this adds to that. This gives you the bigger chance of getting that thing you like. And now the expansion isn't over, so they could still add these things. I mean, I think it was Corey Stockton. He said that they're going to add more Garrison content with every patch. So they might be able to add these things. You know,
but they're going to do a weekly friend mission, aren't they? That you can bring some friends in. You can do a weekly mission together and things like that. You know, all those kind of things I welcome, especially being in a guild, you know, back in a guild again, back with people that you like to play with. That kind of stuff gets really good fun. I think doing garrison missions on TeamSpeak, invasion missions this is, doing garrison invasions on TeamSpeak with guildies or friends is really cool. I've done it with guildies, I've done it with real life friends. So yeah, I welcome cooperative content in your garrison quite a bit.
Yeah, and speaking of cooperative kind of garrison stuff, I mean, they have said that they're not really going to bring the garrisons to future expansions, or at least, you know, that's their assumption at this point. But they could expand the tech to something similar, you know, like instead of making it your own personal garrison, maybe make it, you know, a guild ship or a guild zeppelin, where you can do these things like a hub for your guild, and brings that sense of community together instead of, you know, the garrison where it's you and a bunch of people who are saying nice things about you.
Yeah, there's rumours that the next expansion could actually be the fabled High Seas expansion.
Thank you.
Well, that's the rumour. That's the rumour, Mel. And of course, if it is the fabled High Seas, then possibly Guild Fleet.
Yes, absolutely. That would be amazing. And I think they are going to do something like that. It would be an utter and complete waste to take away all the things they've introduced this expansion. Of course, you're not going to do the exact same things again. And they're probably going to take the best aspects of the Garrison. They're going to look at all the feedback, take the best aspects, and merge it into something new. And the number one thing they have to do is make it so that we're not alone in our Garrison 24/7. All right? That's no, don't do that again.
So I think we can kind of sum up here that you get what you put in with your garrison and the content. If you're willing to, you know, utilize it utilize the different facets of your garrison, then there is quite a bit of content there for you to start messing around with. I'm unlucky that I can't get gear with my apexis crystals. 90% of the other people might not be. There might be plenty of gear that they can get with their apexis crystal. If you are a more casual player, then the apexis crystal grind might not actually be too bad, because you can move from a 630 to a 640 to a 655 piece of gear. And with a 655 piece of gear, you've got yourself a normal raiding gear level of item there. And there are multiple items to get, 6 or 8 items, whatever, to get. So, you know, there is plenty for you to do. It's just that thing. You've got to invest the time if you're going to do it, though.
Absolutely doodly.